My husband's daughter from his first marriage wanted to inherit his house according to the will. But in court, we uncovered the most terrible truth. I am 45. I have been married for 10 years to Michael, who is 50. We were both in our early 30s when we first met at a local art gallery. We were both admiring the same painting and struck up a conversation. It was like an instant connection, you know? He asked me out on a date. And the more we got to know each other, the more it felt like I had known him my whole life. I am the eldest of 3 children. Money was always tight in our family, but we managed, although we could only afford fast food on birthdays. From a very young age, my father taught us to work hard to achieve everything in life. I studied diligently and made my own way into college, working part-time as a model, so by the time I graduated, I had no outstanding loans. I was moving up the career ladder, and at that time was working as a junior lawyer. Michael's situation was the complete opposite. His family was much better off. His father had a good job with a high salary and benefits, so they never had to worry about money. Michael's parents were able to fully pay for his college education. Thanks to his father's influential position in the company, Michael got an internship there. From there, he began to build his own career path, working hard and achieving everything himself. Although Michael and I came from different worlds, we were united by a common passion for art and music. This is what made us fall in love with each other. Michael has a daughter from a previous marriage, Candace. She didn't accept me from the very beginning. She never showed me any warmth and often avoided interaction when we met. It seemed she blamed me for her parents not being together, even though I met Michael after his divorce from his ex-wife. I understood her feelings and tried to give her time to come to terms with our relationship. For context, Michael and his ex-wife, Amelia, were married for only 3 years. They met in college and got married. But after the wedding, everything took a sharp turn for the worse. She was a housewife, and Michael worked hard to earn money. One day, Michael returned from a business trip earlier than planned and found her in bed with his best friend, Tom. This was an incredibly difficult time for Michael. In one day, he lost the 2 closest people to him. Amelia's betrayal shattered him. In the end, he made the painful decision to file for divorce. The divorce process for Michael and Amelia was agonizingly difficult, mainly because Amelia fought with all her might to keep the house, even though it belonged to Michael. The disputes were not limited to real estate. They escalated into a grueling custody battle over Candace. Due to Amelia's infidelity during the marriage, the court ultimately did not award her the house but granted both parents joint custody so that Candace could maintain a relationship with each of them. Amelia's resentment over not getting the house only grew stronger over the years, and she began to manipulate her daughter's feelings, turning her against her father. Michael decided not to reveal his daughter's mother's infidelity to her, trying to shield her from the painful details of their past. I learned about all of this when we first started dating. Michael wanted to be completely honest with me, and I really appreciated that. One day, he invited Candace to go on a trip to Africa with us, hoping it would help us get closer. I was full of optimism and thought it would be a turning point in our relationship. But unfortunately, things went wrong. During the trip, Candace was constantly irritated with me. She often had angry outbursts. As soon as I got close to Michael, she would hurl insults, calling me a gold digger. Michael would scold her for such behavior, but she would just smirk, showing that she had no intention of accepting me into her life. I understood that the situation with his ex-wife and daughter was complicated, but our love was strong, and I was ready to go through it with him. After a whirlwind romance, we got married. It was a small ceremony with our closest friends and family members. We were happy. Amelia and Candace, despite being invited to the wedding, did not come. Our marriage started out beautifully. We traveled a lot while continuing to work. I was deeply passionate about my career and had no intention of giving it up. Meanwhile, after the divorce, Amelia lived with Tom. Candace had her own apartment, bought with Michael's money, and worked as a social media manager for a reputable company. After 3 years of marriage, we were overjoyed to become parents to our son, but the pregnancy was difficult for me, and Candace's visits made it even harder. In Michael's absence, she would make cruel, unnecessary comments about my weight and appearance. She said he would leave me anyway because I was a fat cow now. This hurt me deeply. And when I shared this with Michael, he decided that Candace would no longer come to our house. They started meeting at cafes to protect me from extra stress. When our son, Nick, was born, we were immensely happy. Despite motherhood, I was determined to continue working. So, we hired a nanny to help us with the baby. When my maternity leave ended, I gladly returned to work. Although we had a stable and comfortable life, I cherished my financial independence and the opportunity to continue building my career. If Candace had problems with me before, they only intensified after Nick was born. At family gatherings that we sometimes organized, she would start picking on Nick, trying to bully him. And it would end with our son running to us in tears for protection. I could understand her hatred for me, but I was not going to let her take out her anger on our innocent boy. I forbade her from coming to our house. Since then, we also stopped hosting family holidays at our place. Now to the main point. As Michael and I got older, we realized how important it was to think about the future. We decided to draw up a will to get our affairs in order. Considering that Michael had already bought an apartment for Candace, he named me and our son as the heirs to our family home. The remainder of his estate, money, and personal savings account went to Candace. I, in turn, had my own assets, which I planned to leave to my son so that he would always be provided for. We both believed this was the right decision for our family's future, so that Nick could grow up in security. When Amelia and Candace found out about the will, all hell broke loose. I'm not sure if Michael let it slip or his parents did, but they were furious. Amelia called Michael and demanded that the house go to them since she was his first wife. But he stood his ground firmly. He reminded her that he had always taken care of Candace, paid child support, paid for her college, and bought her an apartment. He said he would continue to care for her future, but he was going to leave the house to our son. This angered her even more, and Amelia sent me a long message calling me every insult imaginable. I showed it to Michael, and he asked me not to reply and to block her immediately. The next day, Candace showed up at our doorstep, clearly upset. I immediately knew it was about the will. To avoid a scene, I quickly arranged for my parents to pick him up. When the three of us were alone, Candace stated her intentions directly. She insisted that Nick and I should give up the house because, as Michael's firstborn, she was the one entitled to it. Despite my irritation, I remained silent and let Michael speak. He explained to his daughter that he had always given her everything she needed in life. He assured her that he would leave her his savings. But he also had a duty to take care of me and our son. And since he is married to me, leaving the family home to us was his way of ensuring our security. Candace again turned on me and stated that she expected the right decision from me. I calmly expressed my support for my husband's decision, which enraged her even more. She raised her voice and threatened to sue me. At that moment, I didn't want to escalate the conflict further and asked her to leave us alone. As expected, a few weeks later, I received a court summons. Candace and Amelia had filed a lawsuit against me over the property. The accusations stated that I had married Michael for his money and had allegedly manipulated him to take their family home for myself. Michael and I consulted with our lawyer, and he assured us that Candace and Amelia had no serious legal grounds for their claims. But despite his confidence, I couldn't shake my anxiety, especially because I didn't want our son to be dragged into this drama. The closer the court date came, the more tense the atmosphere in our home became. In court, Amelia's lawyer was ruthless in his attempts to prove that Michael was obligated to put his first daughter, Candace, above all else. Their arguments were built on seeking a full jury trial to establish ownership of the house. Since we lived in Colorado, the system did indeed require a jury trial, which further complicated matters. The impending trial kept Michael and me in a constant state of tension, especially because Amelia's lawyer resorted to dirty tricks, digging into our past to use against us. Our own lawyer was doing his best, but the situation was still extremely stressful. At that moment, we unexpectedly received a call from Tom, who insisted on meeting with us. Michael had completely cut off all ties with him since he caught him with Amelia and didn't want to meet, but I convinced him to hear Tom out. Maybe it would help resolve the dispute faster. When Tom arrived, we half expected it to be another move by Amelia's lawyer to undermine our case. However, to our surprise, Tom came with a different purpose: to talk. He confessed that he had something extremely difficult to tell Michael. Michael sat motionless as Tom admitted that Amelia had been seeing him behind Michael's back for a very long time, and their affair had started even before she got pregnant. I held my breath as he continued and dropped a shocking truth. When Amelia became pregnant, she confessed to him that she believed the child was actually his. But since Michael's financial situation was much more stable, she decided to hide the truth and stayed in the marriage. Tom had begged her to tell Michael who the real father was, but she always refused. I couldn't believe Amelia had managed to hide this for so many years and still had the audacity to fight for the house, knowing she was hiding such a monstrous secret from Michael. It was incomprehensible how she had maintained this lie for years while destroying our family. Tom explained that he had kept silent all these years because he thought she genuinely loved him. But seeing the suffering we were going through because of the lawsuit, he finally realized who she really was. He broke down in tears and began to ask Michael for forgiveness. Michael, in shock, sat in silence, while I was seething with anger and despair, watching the torment my husband was going through. The man who had believed his whole life that Candace was his daughter now heard that it was all a lie. Previously, I chose to remain silent when Amelia and Candace were rude to me because I wanted to maintain some semblance of a normal relationship. But now that the truth was out, there was no point in continuing this game. I immediately contacted our lawyer and relayed Tom's confession. He explained that for our words to have weight in court, we needed concrete evidence, like a DNA test. So, we invited Candace over for dinner under the pretext of wanting to meet. The plan was simple: discreetly take her glass or spoon for analysis to strengthen our position. Candace, though surprised, agreed to come. She behaved as rudely as ever, continuing to humiliate me and my son. She was confident that she and her mother would win the case and mocked that I would soon lose everything. I chose not to react, hoping this would be the last time we would have to endure her antics. After she left, we immediately contacted the lawyer to pick up her cup for the DNA test. On the day we were due in court, we received confirmation. Tom's confession was true. Candace was indeed his daughter. I breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, I felt compassion for my husband, who had been dragged into all this deception and manipulation by his ex-wife. I told the lawyer I was ready to testify in court and tell our side of the story. He agreed it would be the best course of action. Facing the jury, I felt a storm of emotions. Anger at Amelia for her deceit, pity for Michael, and a determination to protect our family's rights. I gathered my thoughts and began to answer the lawyer's questions. We touched upon my past, my career, and the fact that I never stopped working, even after getting married. I spoke about the years of emotional torment, mockery, and humiliation I had endured from Amelia and Candace. We provided screenshots to support my words. I explained that Candace had never accepted me from the beginning and had even refused to come to our wedding. After our son was born, she also verbally abused him. Then, I revealed Tom's confession to the jury, told them how we found out who Candace's real father was, and about the dirty secret Amelia had hidden from everyone for so many years. Candace looked at me with disbelief, and I noticed her angrily whispering with her lawyer. Our lawyer presented the DNA test results, which confirmed my words. I looked at Amelia's face with satisfaction, knowing that she could no longer escape the truth. Candace looked as though her world was collapsing before her eyes, just as ours had when we first learned this truth. The atmosphere in the courtroom was tense. Everything became clear. Amelia and Candace no longer had any grounds for their claims. Amelia looked broken, and Candace, who had been so confidently heading for victory, now faced the consequences of her mother's lies. Their lawyers simply had nothing left to fight for. Fortunately, it didn't take the jury long to reach a decision. The judge announced the verdict. The inheritance of our family home goes to us, as Michael always wanted. And the jury acknowledged that Candace and Amelia had no legal rights to it. After the trial, in the last few days, we've been getting different reactions from relatives and friends. Most understand our situation and agree that we did the right thing. But there are also those who think it was cruel to reveal the truth and destroy Candace's life. That's why I'm writing here, to ask for your opinion. Do you think I was wrong for refusing to share the property with my stepdaughter and, in the end, revealing the whole truth right in court instead of telling her personally? So, before we continue, I suggest you answer the author's question in the comments right now. Personally, I think she did absolutely the right thing, as Amelia herself behaved rudely towards the author the whole time. It's one thing if she had treated her father's new marriage normally and supported him, it's another thing when things happened this way. I believe that even if it hadn't turned out that Candace wasn't actually Michael's daughter, the will was still quite fair from the beginning. In any case, it was a very good life lesson for Candace, I think. I hope that in the future, she will understand that such a strategy doesn't work very well, because now all this has come out, and what is left for Michael? I think he will leave her with nothing. But if she had treated Michael normally, then even after finding out that she wasn't his real daughter, perhaps he would have left her something. Let's move on to the update, and find out what happened next. Update 1. It's been 3 days since my last update, and I've read all your comments and advice. Many of you think that Candace might have already known about her mother's lie, but that's unlikely. I saw her face when the DNA results were announced in court. The victory in court lifted a huge weight off my shoulders. I decided not to dwell on negative relatives who think we acted wrongly. We didn't drag ourselves to court. Amelia and Candace did. We just revealed the truth. Now I'm no longer worried about the future, and am happy with the outcome. However, right now I'm most worried about my husband. Michael is still struggling to recover from the shock of learning the truth about Candace's father. His world has been turned upside down. Since he found out she's not his daughter, he's been eating poorly and barely sleeping. I can't even imagine the pain he's going through trying to come to terms with this. Amelia already put him through hell during the divorce. And now that it's turned out Tom was Candace's father, he just doesn't know how to live with it. Tom not only slept with his ex-wife but also turned out to be the biological father of his first child. I suggested Michael see a therapist, as he needs to talk to a professional who can help him get through this. I've made an appointment for him, and he starts next week. Update 2. It's been 1 month since my last update, and we've managed to recover from this situation to some extent. As I mentioned, my husband is regularly attending therapy. I can see that he's getting better, but it will take time for him to fully recover. Unexpectedly, last week Candace contacted us herself. Honestly, we thought that after everything that had happened, she would never want to talk to us again. She called to apologize for what we went through. I wasn't sure if it was sincere or if she was just angry at her mother. But I didn't go into details. Candace admitted that she had always been jealous of me, thinking I had stolen her father from her. She confessed that she hated me, which I already knew. She had believed that her father had cheated on her mother. But during the trial, when the truth came out and it was revealed that Amelia had cheated, she realized she had been living a lie her whole life. She begged Michael not to leave her life, and he assured her that he would always be her father, no matter who her biological parent was. This brought her to tears. It seems this was the confirmation she needed. Candace also apologized to me for how she had behaved towards me and said she hoped I could forgive her someday. I didn't want to pretend everything was okay, because it wasn't, and I need time before I can be in the same room with her calmly. Lately, I've been trying to focus on our family and our son. During the trial, I wasn't able to give him much attention, so I'm planning a secret family vacation to relax and celebrate. I hope this trip will help us unwind and recover. If anything interesting happens, I'll write a new update. Update 3. After 3 months with no contact, Amelia showed up at our doorstep. I was hesitant to let her in, but I was afraid the neighbors would hear potential shouting, as had happened before. Reluctantly, we let her in but immediately made it clear that any tantrum would end with a call to the police. Amelia told us that Tom had decided to leave her and had asked her to move out of his house by the end of the month. In tears, she confessed that he no longer wanted to marry her. She had nowhere to go and wanted to move in with Candace, although Candace was strongly against it. We learned that after the trial, Candace had completely cut ties with her mother, blaming her for the manipulation. Amelia had come only so that we would talk to Candace and convince her to let her mother live with her. Before I could say anything, I saw my husband lose his temper for the first time. He firmly told Amelia that he bought the apartment exclusively for Candace, and the decision to let her in or not was up to his daughter alone. He reminded Amelia that she hadn't even apologized for the affair, and now she expected help from us. He told her he was glad Tom finally saw the truth and left her. Amelia tried to justify herself, saying she was afraid she'd be kicked out of the house when she was pregnant if she had told Michael everything back then. But I couldn't listen to her excuses anymore and asked her to leave. We had given her a chance to explain, and there was no point in continuing the conversation. After Amelia left, Michael contacted Candace to warn her, if her mother tried to force her way into the apartment, it would be impossible to get her out later. Candace assured him that she would never let that happen. She was going to change the locks and officially tell her mother that she wasn't welcome. As for me, I'm sick of all this drama. Lately, Michael and I have been discussing the possibility of selling our house and moving to another state to finally escape all of this. I emphasize that for the sake of our son and our marriage, we need to seriously consider this step. And although it's a tough decision, Michael has come to terms with it, especially after Amelia's unexpected visit, which showed that we can't expect any peace from her. Moving out of this city seems like the best option. Michael's job allows him to work remotely, and I'm ready to start over at a new company if it helps us find happiness away from these toxic people. Next month, we'll start the process of selling our house and hopefully, by the end of the year, we'll start a new life somewhere else. It's time to turn this page and start anew. Well, that's all. You see how it all ended. Candace still got the apartment after all. Although, in my opinion, Michael shouldn't have given her that apartment. Maybe it's impossible to undo it now, but if it were possible, I would have taken that apartment back. Yes, that's very, of course, heartless. But on the other hand, he was deceived too. And as it turns out, Amelia achieved her goals in the end. Her daughter got an apartment, one way or another. And that's more than she probably would have gotten from Tom. Maybe she'll even sue Tom for something for her daughter. So yes, of course, it's a moral dilemma. What would you do in Michael's place? Write in the comments. And for now, thank you for listening to this story to the end. Watch our previous video, which you'll see right here. And be sure to subscribe to our channel if for some reason you haven't already. Good luck.